Hey guys, welcome back to the Danger Planet. Today we're talking about Star Wars Shatterpoint and the Twice the Pride Squad Pack. Ian, make a Wookiee noise. We did it. Welcome back, everybody. Today, as we have discussed, we're talking about Mr. Dukes, Count Dooku, and his Twice the Pride, but only one time the Fall Squad Pack. What are your thoughts?
I am upset.
I think they should have named this pack "No Pride, All Fall." This pack. I really like the angle they're going for here, where they were trying to show Dooku at the power level he was right before he got beheaded. Post hands cut off, but pre-head getting cut off.
Oh no! All right, those are some aggressively hot takes. To be fair, I think that this box has some legs. Although I will say I've played with Dooku a couple times now, and every time I play with him, I am less impressed.
It's funny you think it has legs because movement, I think, is actually one of the biggest things this box is lacking.
Okay, all right. Well, look, we can't win them all, but so we'll get there. I don't think the whole box is bad for sure.
No, I don't either.
But Dooku, I mean, let's just start with Dooku. So Dooku has 7 support points. He has 4 force points, and of course, he's a primary unit. Okay, so on the back of Dooku's card, we can see that he has a couple of abilities. He has a tactic called Leader of the Separatist Army, which is at the start of this unit's activation. You choose choose another allied Separatist character within range 3. Each character in the unit and the chosen unit may dash. So Dooku gets to dash. The unit that you choose, that whatever gets to dash.
Okay, so Dooku has 2 reactions. His first reaction is honestly really good. They had to day 1 errata it because the way it came out was useless.
Yeah.
But surely it's called "Surely You Can Do Better," and now it is in the dice modification step of the combat sequence. This unit may spend 1 to 3 force to use this ability while modifying the attack roll. Change 1 hit to a miss for each force spent. So functionally, that just allows Dooku to convert 3 hits to up to 3 hits to misses for force. Broadly, very powerful.
Yeah. Before, of course, like day 0, you had to basically assign the force ahead of time.
You had to guess
that you got it, which was awful, and nobody thought that was a good idea, so they fixed it.
Yeah, it went from being completely unusable to excellent. It's a little expensive, but like when you need it, you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has another reaction, and this one is awful. Called Twice the Pride, Double the Fall. Take cost of force to use. After a melee attack targeting an allied character within range 2 is resolved, this unit may use this ability if the attack contained no hit results. 1 character in this unit may dash, and then they may make a 5 dice melee attack targeting the attacking character. The trigger for this one is just too...
It's so restrictive.
Like unnecessarily. Because like, assuming that they aren't just rolling cold as ice, that means that you're spending at least 1 force on Surely You Can Do Better to turn their attacks to misses, and then spending more force to use Twice the Pride, Double the Fall. You're spending all your force in 1 turn to do like, I made you miss a couple times and then took a weak attack against you.
Yeah, and it doesn't even let you use this reaction against blaster attacks, so it's like if they got too close and shot you, maybe you could do it, but it's purely melee. You have to spend force, and then if you're trying to trigger this off of an allied unit that's next to him, because he can use it on himself, obviously. But if you're using it on an allied, then you just have to hope that your opponent rolls very poorly, because you can't. Surely You Can Do Better for your allies.
Yeah, it's only when he's targeted with an attack. Yeah, it's not ideal. But he does have one last thing. He has his identity ability.
He does, and his identity ability is Brave but Foolish. Once per turn, when a primary allied unit or allied secondary unit is wounded by an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, you refresh 2 force. Then an allied separatist supporting unit may make a dash, specifically 1 character in the unit may make a dash or a 5 dice attack.
Yeah,
I want to qualify my Dooku
his
opinion.
identity ability, I think, is good. I mean, it's not super restrictive, which is great, unlike the rest of his card, because you get 2 force back, which is really, really good, except when it's completely irrelevant. But when it's not, it's really, really good. And then you get any Separatist Alliance, which presumably you're building.
No, any Separatist Alliance supporting character.
Yeah, you get
so
one.
It's just the MagnaGuards, the B1.
for now, yes, but you'll get
Mhm.
one of your support units. One of those characters can just move and attack, but it doesn't have to be against the thing that did the wounding. You can just move and like narc one of their units, right?
No, it's move or attack. One character in the
oh,
chosen
sure.
unit may dash or
yeah,
attack.
sorry, dash or attack, but still, like you can, if you have a particularly long range gun, like a 5 gun, you can just like shoot basically anything in a pretty huge bubble. And it can be the out of sequence dude that's like you've been putting some damage on and then wound them before they, there's play to it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think my issue with this one is there's the outcomes that you're going to get from this identity ability could range from super impactful where you have no force left and then you get to make an attack which could flip a point for you, to you just flipped all your force back and you're full, and then something went down because it's the middle of like the second time you guys are going through your decks, and then you get a dash which is like, all right, cool, I'm a little closer to where I want to be, but that's not the guy I want dashing. I want my other primary, I want my other secondaries to be pushing instead.
Yeah. And just for sake of completion, he has 10 stamina, or 10 durability and 3 stamina. 10 stamina. That would make this guy good. But yeah, so realistically, Dooku as a whole, I think, you have to have twice the pride to play him, and then you get double the fall when you lose. Because he's so hit or miss.
He's the way they built him, he's the only force user that can't just on his turn say, I'm gonna force move. Everyone else has some form of movement jank. Asajj can jump a bunch of times. Obi-Wan, and actually, I don't know if Anakin does. I haven't played with Anakin yet, but I know Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, they can. Darth Maul, they all can do force speed or jump. Like everyone has some form of movement of guaranteed movement jank.
So Dooku also does have that, assuming that you're in his less defensive or his I guess less aggressive ranged and defensive ranged stance. One of his starting abilities on his attack has a reposition, so he does actually have a little bit of movement, but it's just like you have to be fighting something to do it, and even then it's like
also form 2 Makashi is so much weaker than Force Mastery.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you're slightly better in melee, but you have to have the reposition trigger to get into melee, and then you're just gonna get shot at 5 dice, and it is more defensive though. Overall, with his mastery ability.
I think he could become more useful. I think he could become more useful when Grievous comes out, because we're getting more Separatist Alliance units. We're getting B2s, we're getting another super tactical droid and Kraken. So we're gonna get more things that combo with Dooku. So he might become more useful when that comes out. But honestly, I think that what you're more likely to see is that people that want to run like all Separatist stuff are just gonna take all droids and Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Honestly, with how Dooku's card is set up, I just don't see him not getting outclassed by everyone else.
Yeah, he's certainly got some problems for sure. And the 7 hiring point pool also sort of screws it up if you're not just going to take him with the squad of his box. You can take him with the B1s or with the MagnaGuard, right? That's for sure. But oh, dude. Dooku, so a lot of the Legion players talk about how bad Dooku is in Legion, which makes me very sad that seemingly he's also bad in this game. But as the unit pool expands, perhaps we'll get better. Nonetheless, I think we've sort of pooed on Dooku a bit. So let's talk about his squad's secondary unit, Jango Fett, which is wild. Jango Fett, you might know who he is. He is a 4-point support unit. A secondary unit, with a active ability. Is it active ability? Am I crazy?
Yes.
Active, yeah. So he is a 4-point support unit with an active ability for jetpack, just like all the Mandalorians have, although he doesn't have the Mandalorian tag, which is very sad, because he is de facto a Mandalorian.
He'd be so good if he had the Mandalorian tag.
But even if he didn't have all the abilities, Mandalorians are stronger together, because he's a bounty hunter, I get it, but they could trigger off him. I don't know, I think it'd be good, but
it'd be nice.
So his active ability Jetpack lets him jump for a force. He also has what I think is the thing that I really like. I don't know if it's his best ability, but his active ability Capture Wire. For 1 force, he can choose a character in this unit, so himself, and an enemy character within range 3, and you pull the chosen character range 2 towards Jango Fett, and the enemy gets pinned. So pinned is super, super good for denying movement, but more importantly, it lets you yank people off of objectives that he can then jetpack onto or walk onto to go claim, which I think is super, super strong.
It also puts them in range of his next ability.
Yeah, and which puts you to his reactive ability, Not So Fast, which is at the start of an enemy unit's next activation. If 1 or more characters in the unit are within range 3 of a character in this unit, you can use this ability. It costs 1 force. You roll 5 dice, and then that unit suffers a damage for every crit and hit result on the roll, which is not an attack. It isn't affected by defense or hunker tokens. It doesn't protect it. It doesn't. It just gets around all of that. It's so unbelievably strong, and it can put your opponent in a position where if they have, this unit that has to activate, and they don't have a way to push it out of activation, which not a lot of cases do, especially if you're choosing like secondary units and not against like Obi-Wan or something. You're gonna be able to lock people down really well if they're, you put some damage on them and then put them in a position where if they activate, they're probably getting wounded and then their activation's over. Ideal case, and then he has 2 innate abilities. My Client's Getting Impatient, which is after this unit makes a focus action, he gets to jump, and then I'm just looking to get paid when he wounds a primary unit or secondary unit, refresh 2 force, and he can heal 2, which is just very strong.
Yes.
He's a little on the lighter side defensive wise. Obviously he's a secondary character, so he just has 2 stamina, but 9 durability is a little low, but it's if you keep him protected, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen.
It's not even that low for what we've seen for secondaries.
Yeah, I mean, Ahsoka has 9; she's a primary, but like.
Fair
Yeah, he's just great he has so much versatility and mobility that he has and brings to a crew that he is just a great, like, I'm going to have a game plan over here with the rest of my team, and you can just send him off to solo work and get you force back.
Which is so unbelievably thematic, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like, honestly, because I do agree. I think that Jango is the brightest spot in this box. I think he's great. I think it's too bad he doesn't have very many synergies, because this game seems like it really wants you to make synergies happen on your teams.
Yeah.
But Jango is an excellent lone operative.
Yeah, I really like Jango Fett, and I think if you're going to buy this box, it is almost certainly for Jango Fett. I think he's a great secondary unit, and he can pretty much slot into literally any force because he's a solo mercenary. Obviously, we did it. Any other points about Jango other than he's real good and unfortunately lacking synergy?
Just he has a really nice combat track. His expertise are all really nice. His blaster combat track for expertise is just all crits for the most part.
Yeah.
Defense he gets 5 dice and expertise, just a bunch of extra blocks.
Yeah.
He's no slouch in melee.
6 dice either way, 5 dice to defend either way, and like. He can pump out a quite frankly scary amount of damage if you get to the end of his track, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you get to 5, it doesn't matter which way you're going unless you do the hook line thing. You're doing what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage, which is almost enough to wound pretty much anything in the game. And then if you don't, somehow you yeet them towards you and then get them as soon as they activate, right?
Andrew gave them a strained with that, so then you're just saying like, sure, go ahead, do literally anything. You're gonna knock yourself unconscious.
Yeah. It's just, it's nuts. He's very, very damaging. You just gotta get him to the target and assassinate them before they do.
Yeah, like I said, his defense is probably the only thing that's like a slight weak point, and even then it's not that bad. And I think the best thing about him is if the keywords come out correctly, when we get Cad Bane, we could see Cad Bane have the mercenary or the scoundrel keyword or bounty hunter. And then there you go, Jango Fett now has a primary that will be synergistic with him.
For sure.
Criminal if Cad Bane doesn't have bounty hunter.
I'm sure he does. And like his Beskar expertise, his expertise. Yeah. Beskar armor, just like the Mandalorians, but he's a single expertise gives him 2 defense. So like
Yeah.
his 5 dice defense isn't even that bad.
Yep.
No, like I said,
Yeah.
I think he's just an all-around very solid secondary with a lot of movement and damage. He's just
Great
very
lad.
he's very positioning dependent.
Yeah, buddy. And that brings us to the last unit in this box, which is of course the supporting unit, the MagnaGuard. Very cool models to build, I will say. But
Sure.
they're 3 points, which also pretty good, cheap, but they have 3 abilities on their card.
They
they
definitely
have
feel cheap.
No activated abilities. They just have a reactive ability, Protection Protocols, which is after an allied separatist primary unit makes a move. This unit can use this ability to choose a character that just activated and advance towards them, which is like good, I guess, right? Because we're talking Dooku or Asajj Ventress right now. Actually, Maul's Separatist Alliance primary character, right?
He is not.
Oh, he's not.
He is not. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I said, Separatist is like lacking right now, whereas like the Galactic Republic is really filled out to a solid degree.
Yeah, but to be fair, the game launched as of recording 4 days ago.
How dare they not have the entire lineup?
How dare they not have 600 models on day one? What are you doing, Atomic Mass Games? Yeah. But they do have 2 innate abilities, which are okay. So the first one is called Bodyguard. So allied primary characters and secondary characters that are within 2 of characters in this unit have 1 cover, which is the only way in the game currently to get cover if you don't have a hunker token. So that's sort of wild. And if you have a hunker token and like are behind any terrain at some point, that can get you probably a good amount of dice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Buffing that seems good. Or they'll just attack your MagnaGuard. But the other one, Intercede, is while this unit's not wounded, enemy characters engaged with 1 or more characters in this unit have to attack this unit, basically. They have to attack secondary characters with their attacks, right? And that sort of, to me, reads like what their whole point is that they're supposed to be there and you're going to get them basically in front of your character, and then somebody wants to come get them and you range block them into having to fight your MagnaGuard so that your Dooku or Asajj or Grievous or whoever doesn't die.
Yeah. So that to me is their best ability. The MagnaGuard, I think, even more so than Dooku, are the biggest miss in the box. Protection Protocols is fine, but it's a pretty whatever. Like it's one of those abilities where like once you start getting characters knocked out or removed from the board, it completely loses its effectiveness.
Yeah.
And that happens pretty fast with these guys because they aren't tanky. They have 2 stamina, they have 10 health. Their defense track is terrible. They have 5 dice, and they can only get up to 7 blocks. As they work perfectly.
Yeah, on 1 expertise 1, on 2 or more expertise, they just get 2, and that's the end of their track.
Yeah,
right? And they always have 5 dice. It's just
they have no range attack. These guys just die.
Yeah, and like they for a unit, like I get that they're a support unit. They're not supposed to just completely nuke things, right? But with no range attack, they have 6 for a melee, and they're doing like expertise 1 gives them a crit, but they're doing shove in 1, shove in 2, and then like 2 damage reposition, 2 damage pin, whatever. But like at 6 dice, you're not hitting 3 or 4 damage, right? Like that's not going to happen. You're going to get 1 or 2 damage steps at most, and so you get to like push things away a bit. But like, I don't know, man. These guys, they just huge miss.
And you say there is support. They're not supposed to nuke things. Every single other support in the game has the capacity to nuke something.
Well, in combination with other stuff, right? Like all the. But these guys don't have anything else in the Separatist thing yet, so maybe they become significantly more playable in the future when we have a bunch more Separatist things to take them in. But I think more likely than not, what's going to happen is they're just going to be the one that's never taken ever.
Yeah, my feeling with these guys is that once we get the B2s, these guys never make the table.
Yeah, because like realistically, the MagnaGuard are cool, I guess, but like, why would you not just take B1s, right? If you have to take a 3-point unit. And unless you have to take 2 3-point units for some reason because you have 2 7 costs, but then you're taking Dooku. I don't. So
like, currently you take these guys because you want to combo with the battle droid keyword. But like once the battle droid keyword gets stuck onto Grievous and B2s and Kraken,
yeah, there'll be 3 support units immediately as soon as
they're coming out in a month. So like
And, yeah.
once the Grievous box comes out, basically everything in this box that isn't Jango, I think, goes by the wayside.
Yeah, it's such a shame because honestly, I like the way they built these guys. It's just they didn't give them the defensive prowess to do their job correctly. Like they could have weakened them offensively and like made their expertise track not crits and just made it hits. But if they buffed that defensive track or gave them another die in defense or something just to make them stick a little bit longer, I love the bodyguard rule, and I love the intercede because it can really kind of mess with what your opponent wants to and can do. And if there's a master or a primary that comes out that can help the defensive side of droids, then maybe these guys make it back in. But yeah, it's just shooting is too important, and they can't do enough.
But so they would need someone like Obi-Wan's ability to give them the ability to benefit from cover while they're, well, not cover, but like get hunger token or something. Like you just have to give them a straight like +3 defense dice or better. Like
Yeah.
There's no way that something is that powerful and buffs this or only them, because then it would buff good things and make them unkillable. Right.
I hate to say this early into a game's release, but the MagnaGuard need a rework.
Yeah, I hopefully they do a rework. But even if they were like 2 less attack dice and 3 more defense dice, like go for it, right? That would be a step in the right direction. But please check these models out, or like I don't know, make them 2 points. I don't know how much that even helps, quite frankly, but you got to do something. Atomic Mass,
Yeah.
please fix these guys. So overall, I think we're sort of lukewarm at best in the Dooku box because Jango Fett seems pretty good, Dooku seems bad, and the MagnaGuard are, I think, unplayable.
Yes.
Like I could very much see a case for Dooku if you really want it. Like having 4 force points in the refresh is viable.
He also has a
even
very
if there are
strong
better
range
options.
attack.
Yeah, and he has a very
can-
strong range attack, right?
Make Dooku work. Dooku's just to equate it to like League of Legends. Dooku is like Lee Sin during a couple times during his lifespan where he's been way too complicated for the output you're getting from him. And that's kind of how Dooku is right now, where it's like you have to do everything perfectly with Dooku to just reach the power that other primaries are at.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's basically the issue with Dooku is someone like Maul is just gonna be able to outperform him with little stress put into it, whereas Dooku is just there's a lot there, but he is just very difficult to play to get any kind of output.
Yeah. And like, so quite frankly, at the moment, even if you are building a Separatist army, like obviously you take Asajj probably because she's pretty good, or like Maul even, but like it is very clear to me that if you want to do a Separatist army, that your second primary character is just Anakin.
I mean, or you can make a very good army with Asajj and Maul. And
Yeah,
you
sure.
Just,
Or
and
Anakin.
and then you just
But
jam.
yeah,
And well, I mean, Anakin's also great. Being able to attack twice is very strong.
yeah, who would have guessed? Man, if
Mhm.
Dooku could attack twice at range, that'd be wild. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting decision. We'll see where these go. That being said, I will say from a hobby perspective, the MagnaGuard are very, very cool models. Dooku's a great model. He comes with an option for one hand being like, I'm force pushing you, or lightning, which is of course his ranged attack, force lightning, and you know we also have the very cool and very playable Jango Fett, right?
Yeah.
And
It looks
Oh,
great.
sorry.
If you want to hobby it,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a hobbyist dream. You know, you can do a lot with posing with the MagnaGuard too, like
absolutely.
because they have the adjustable hip joints and everything. Like it's a very cool set.
And if you're looking for some tips on how to build or how to paint your models, rather, check out the Goonhammer articles that we linked below, because they're doing a bit on everything paint guide wise, and it's a super great resource. You should be checking this out already if you're playing miniature war games, and especially if you're playing Shatterpoint. So do that for sure. Make sure to jump in our Discord if you have any questions or just want to see what we're up to in Shatterpoint and other things. You know, we do a lot of miniature war gaming, especially the skirmish games, and we're all super pumped about Shatterpoint. So Ian, Vitaly, thank you for joining me. We're keep an eye on the planet for sure. We're going to be doing more of this stuff. We're going to be reviewing every box that's ever released ever, probably, for Star Wars Shatterpoint until we get bored of it, you know. So say good night to the internet, guys.
Goodbye, internet.
Yay.
Okay, do a Wookiee noise.